Wow, aren't we lucky today?
Oh, I know. Boy, what a day. We had a chance to hang out with a local legend today. Joyce, somebody that I've had a chance to get to know over the years. I know you have as well, but I've DJ'd a lot of weddings at his venue here in the Shoreline area, and he's just been a blast to work with. And his dad, has just left a heck of a legacy. We're going to talk a little bit about him in a bit as well. But we're talking off air a little bit about how legacy is so important, and we're going to get into that in a bit. But Joyce, I'm going to let you introduce our esteemed guest here, because you've known him and you've worked with him, and he's just quite a guy.
I love his whole family.
Me too.
Antonio Suppa.
Antonio Suppa.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
We're going to call you
Thanks for
Tony,
having me
though.
today. Yeah.
So I want I wanted to talk to you today about, and we're sitting here with and this is where you really need to, I hope you're watching on YouTube, because you'll see this fabulous pasta and meatballs that we're going to be eating.
I love meatballs.
And
the smell is just incredible. Sumptuous.
The smell, I think the smell is really Chef Silvio's sauce.
Mm-hmm.
It's Silvio's sauce.
Yep.
And I used to work with your dad doing public relations when his cookbook came out.
Yes.
So he would tell me stories about how people would come into your family's restaurant that you grew up in.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, you were a kid doing your homework at Delmonico's restaurant on famed Worcester Street in New Haven.
Legendary.
I definitely spent more time there than anywhere else.
Right.
After school, straight to the restaurant. He'd make us like a quick second lunch because, Italians always eat. So, so we'd have lunch again, around 2:30.
We'd have lunch after lunch after
Yeah,
lunch.
exactly. So, then I would either sit, obviously we were closed between lunch and dinner. So I'd sit at the bar, do my homework, hang out with my dad, kind of follow him around the kitchen and stuff. But that's kind of how me and my brothers grew up. Yeah, it was a great experience.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about the Italian culture too. You're so close.
Yep.
Right.
Very close.
The whole family element.
Yeah.
And the food and everything else. It's just it's amazing.
I mean, Worcester Street was it's not as much like that anymore, but back then, every single person knew each other. It was just families that immigrated from Italy, lived there. So, I was 7, 8 years old. I would just walk down Worcester Street by myself, and I was like 10 different people.
Can't do that now.
No, definitely can't do that now, but. And then, they would, they call my dad, hey, your son's walking down the street with this saw. Is he coming back? Whatever, And there was an old store there called Cavaliers. It was like a little,
Cavaliers.
Yeah. It was, I forgot, one's name was Silvio, actually. I remember that was my dad's name. But we used to go in and buy like bubble gum or like, anything like that. But it was a little Italian, like bodega kind of.
Right.
Yeah. But it was really cool growing up on Worcester Street.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was on Worcester Street, though, where the sauce kind of was born. I think your father always made it, but then people started going into the kitchen and asking to take home a container. Is that how it got
exactly.
birthed?
Yep. Yeah, so that was always our, famous sauce there that we used at Delmonico's. And then really good customers or friends of his would be like, I'm having a party at my house. Can I have some containers of sauce? I have to go, I'm leaving for Florida for 2 months. Can you jar me some sauce? And then give him some sauce to go. And then he just started jarring it since he was doing it already, and then just selling it to local markets. He had somebody that worked with him back at the time. His name was Anthony, actually, and he helped him just market it. It was just around New Haven, just people that we knew, and that's kind of just how it started. But he literally made it and jarred it at the restaurant.
Yeah, Tony, I'm always amazed at how businesses start, just like that, just doing something for a friend.
Yeah.
Can you get me a little jar or something, put something in a container?
Exactly. Yeah.
And doing it out of their garage.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it just grows and morphs into this amazing business and this legacy that Silvio has left. And it's been passed on to people like you.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
So he actually used to make it. So we used to close between lunch and dinner. I think it was 1:30 to about 5:30. And he would make the sauce and jar it in between that time. And that's how he started jarring the sauce and shipping it out. And then I would just be there, watching him and stuff. It was a really cool experience. Yeah.
17 years ago, someone handed me a jar of the sauce. It was 17 years ago. Someone that was affiliated with Woodwinds.
Yeah.
And she said to me, you can eat this right out of the jar, and it's going to taste like it came off your stove.
Yeah.
So I brought it home because I usually made my own sauce.
Yeah.
I put it in the cupboard, and then it wasn't until a month later where I didn't have ingredients in the house. And I said, the sauce. And my son said, is this grandma's sauce? No, he said,
Yeah.
and then I tasted it and I said, oh my God,
Yeah.
this does taste, honest to God, like it came right off the stove.
Yeah.
It is the freshest. And then I thought, well, I think my father's family was from the area, like the Campania area, Amalfi Coast.
Well, I'm
that.
impressed, Joyce. You did your geography there. Very nice.
Yeah.
I like that, Tony. It's pretty good.
Very impressive, Joyce. I like that.
Yeah, I learned it because I like to eat the sauce. But it was the best. So I have people I've given it to, and they call me, people I don't really know that well, and they said, Joyce, I no longer have to cook the lasagna sauce all day.
Yeah.
I'm just using Silvio's sauce.
Yeah.
So I learned a trick that, because there's 3 flavors. We had the Sunday sauce. You got the capriccio. Am I saying that right?
Capricciosa.
Capricciosa. And the Fra Diavolo.
Yes.
So when I make this dish, that Giada di Laurentiis from Food Network,
Yes.
you know, that lovely, beautiful Giada di Laurentiis, your dad and I met her at RJ Julia's because he had his cookbook out
Yep.
and she had a cookbook out. And we ended up speaking to her. And she gave me the recipe from Dino De Laurentiis, which is her grandfather, the movie director.
Yeah.
And it was like a poor man's lasagna. And you use 6 cups of sauce and you mixed it with the pasta. And at the very end, you put the Parmesan cheese and you could put slices of butter on it. And you baked it. And it was like amazing. So what I do every Christmas Eve is I use 1 jar of each because the Fra Diavolo gives it a little bite.
Yeah.
And everyone says, oh, this sauce is so good. What did you put in it to give it? Do you have like chili peppers or something? And it's like, no. And then I bring out the jars of sauce. This is it. So when people call me and they tell me they use it, I'll say, did you try it though with that jar of Fra Diavolo? Go, no, I didn't. And we start this whole love conversation over food,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely brings. That's what my dad used to say all the time. Brings the family together.
Yes.
You know, like back then, everything started at the table. You know, you'd sit down every day. The whole family sat down together. And unfortunately, that's what we're missing nowadays. But
I would look forward to that growing up too. You know, Dad would come home from work and Mom would have the food out ready to go. We'd have those conversations. And how was your day?
yeah,
And just the amazing, you know, conversations that come out of all that.
yeah,
But your sauce is available in a lot of the area supermarkets too, as well, which I think is fantastic.
Well, it's
too.
available like locally here, but for anyone not local,
Right, not
in
local.
Connecticut, you can
Like in
go-
Vegas.
yeah. Exactly.
It says the
just
people in
saw-
Vegas, right?
Yeah, we just, I just, well, my sons do the shipping online, and they just sent out a whole bunch to Las Vegas.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Wayne Newton bought a whole bunch.
Oh, I know him. Yeah.
That's right.
So that's why, you know, sometimes people will call and they'll say, I don't know if I'm sort of like, I'll do the customer service end of it.
Yeah.
But when I get on the phone with them, we are just like buddies, you know, because they'll say, la, 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 la. And I'll say, yeah, and I do it this way. They go, tell me about it, you know, and then I learned how they make the sauce. But
What I found when I talk to new people about the sauce and they find out, you know, like I make it and things, is you become instant friends. And I think it's because it brings them back to a time when they remember, like, you know, their mother was making the sauce or their grandmother, and it brings back those memories. And, you know, and you're talking about that, and it's like you're literally best friends for 10 minutes.
yeah.
You know?
It's that commonality. It's like if you're walking down the beach and you have a dog,
Yeah.
you're automatically more likable.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if you're pushing a carriage with a baby, people like
Yeah.
you more.
So if you make good sauce, people
Wait
love
a
it.
minute. I'm going to walk down the beach with this then.
Like, oh, I just bought some.
Well, what I want to do is open it up and put a spoon in there.
Yeah, I
and
know,
eat it that way, the way I eat almond butter, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
But you know what I think is just so unique about this is that it's really pure and it's vegetarian based.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Which you don't find that a lot. And to get that flavor, like,
No,
you
it
get.
honestly, my dad worked on it for years and years. You know, it's an old recipe, you know, from his family, and it honestly has that like a meat flavor, like that Sunday
It
sauce
does.
flavor without the meat, though. It's 100% vegetarian. There's only really a few ingredients in there. There's not a lot of ingredients. Everything's all natural.
I noticed that, Tony, too, because whenever I buy anything, the less ingredients, the better.
Oh,
If I can't pronounce it, I'm not buying
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Yep.
Right? But I'm looking at your ingredients here, and I like the fact that it's gluten-free, like you were saying before, vegetarian and thing. I mean, this looks, and it is, such
Very
a quality
healthy.
product.
This
very
actually
healthy.
passed to have a heart label, like
Yeah,
it. And the only reason is that they just want so much money. You pay for
Yeah.
that, to put that.
So we got approved for that, but I think it was like 100,000 a year
It was a lot.
just to put their badge
just to
on it.
put their badge on.
And I mean, we're
So
just
we could
not
just
a big
say it,
company.
right?
Yeah, right.
Just-
yeah,
yeah, right.
It was but it was. I mean, don't quote me on it, but it was more money than like we could afford at the time to get that badge.
And the other thing is, John, I just want to say before I forget, Tony makes the sauce. Nobody else.
Yeah, I was
is
just going to
in
ask you
there.
about that.
Yeah.
So you make it yourself.
Yep. So there's a plant in New Haven which we use. We call up, we rent it out for the day, but I still go there myself. Nobody actually has the recipe still. I go with all the recipes prepackaged. We go in. We make.
So this recipe is all proprietary, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Ooh.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah.
Secret.
So the Silvio sauce is also trademarked the name. So Sunday sauce is trademarked. So nobody else could actually use that Sunday sauce name. But yeah, the recipe is very closely guarded. We only use it at our facilities. And we sell it in the jars, but I do go there for the day. So with the sauce, obviously there's a basic recipe you follow, but depending on the items that come in, like tomatoes are always a little different.
Right.
Olive oil is always a little different. So, if you just follow the recipe exact every time, it doesn't come out the same every time. So we actually do taste test it, and we have other meters that test the salinity, and it's called the bricks. It's like the thickness of the sauce.
Yes.
And you really do have to modify it every time to get that same flavor every time. And that's
So what do you do? Do you taste test it like halfway through?
yeah. So yep. So halfway through, we taste test it. After about a half hour of boiling, we start taste testing it, and we usually boil for about 2 hours before we start jarring it.
So you don't phone it in. This is not assembly line.
No,
Every single jar has to be perfect before it goes out to the public. Wow.
So it's a long process, and then we have obviously there's machinery that jars it and puts it out and labels it, but the actual making the process, it's all us. Yeah, it's not mechanized or anything.
And I think what else is unique about it is that it's relatively small batches compared to other companies.
Oh yeah.
So
Very small batches.
yeah, so when you buy it, you're getting the freshest ever that you'll get from a jar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You even have a cookbook out.
Yep.
Oh.
So the jar, actually, we had those tested. They're actually good up until 3 years. We put expiration date of 2 years because we don't want it to go that far. We had to test up to 3 years, but usually the oldest you'll find it in a store because we make small batches is like a month or two old.
Wow. Yeah.
So it'll be a month or two, right off. I mean, some of them get it like
2 years. This wouldn't last more than a day in my house.
I know, right? Yeah.
The whole bottle. I'm gonna get the spoon right in there, like I said, and bam.
And no preservatives because there's no dairy or meat in any of them. So there's no need for preservatives, no chemicals, nothing.
So I want to just talk about these two books because this one, your dad's, is very marked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's one of my.
That was a great process writing that book. I was so happy to be able to watch
An
it.
act of love. Huh?
Yeah.
What makes this book different? It's that it's not only recipes, but it's a history behind the recipe.
Yeah.
Because some of these recipes go back thousands of years.
Yeah. So there's this old church. I think it's from 500 AD. It's actually in our town. So the town we're from is very old. It's over 1,000 years old. And in the bottom there's many churches. Every town nearly has many churches. So in a tiny little town like Brantford will have like 20 churches.
Sure.
So there's a basement. I mean, I call it a basement, but it's more of like, just when you go down there, it's like going through like tunnels and stuff. And it's almost like a library. And so the church kind of takes care of it. And you can't really go down there, but my family knew the priest, so he let my father down with Anthony Riccio at the time. So Anthony was, what was his position at Yale, the library, the Sterling Library?
Yeah, I don't know his title, but I know
he was like the head of the library. And he was an author, so he loved seeing that stuff. So my dad, his brother called the priest and got Anthony in there. And he's looking in there, and they actually found these old books from our family, because our family's from the same town for generations. And they actually found like some recipes in there. We like took some pictures and everything of that.
That is amazing,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
That's how.
But I
old
love
that
the whole
stuff
idea
is.
of the tunnels below.
Yeah.
It's like it's
Yeah.
cloaked in mystery,
Yeah, I know, right?
right? Cloaked in mystery.
Yeah.
So wait, I have to talk about this book. This book is cookbook is Legacy, and how many Michelin chefs?
It's
Okay.
over 20.
Over 20 Michelin chefs
Yeah. Mhm.
made recipes only using
Yes.
Silvio's sauce.
Yeah.
Do you know how incredible
Yeah.
that is?
Yeah.
And I mean, these people from all over the world, we were shipping sauce to like Dubai, Italy, France. I mean, all over
Really?
Europe. And I mean, if you read that book, so the premise of the book was every chef had to come up with recipes using the sauce for the book. Yeah.
And you get this book pretty much anywhere, right?
Well, we have to put these books online.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to. We
People
have to talk
they need
about
to have
that.
access to these
No, for
books.
sure. Yeah.
Especially your books. I wanted to ask you something about that. There's one. Now this is a really, they say, simple recipe.
Yeah, yep.
Simple,
Mhm.
but you have to make it right.
Yes, exactly.
So what's the
It's
key?
the-
Is the key is the
It's
water?
the cooking process. You
That-
can
Can you say it? It's how do you
cacio pepe.
cacio
Cacio pepe.
I knew that.
cacio pepe.
So it's extremely simple, but you can overcook it. You can undercook it. So it could be too watery. It could be too like tight. They call it like too dry. So the timing really on that is the most important thing. The ingredients are very simple.
Right.
You know, there's
So
not
the
many.
timing, should it be more al dente?
Well, the pasta should be al dente, but it's got to be the sauces be like creamy. So it could be too watery or too dry. It really has to be like creamy. I mean, I hate to use this analogy, but almost like a lot of, especially my kids when they're small, we used to use like cream cheese and like butter with the pasta, and it comes very creamy.
Oh yeah.
But it's got to have that creamy consistency to it, or it doesn't have that flavor.
It's amazing how it's just such a thin line.
Yeah, very.
Real thin line. It's an art.
Yeah, like seconds. Like if you go
Seconds,
a
right.
few seconds too long,
Like you said, not so much the ingredients, but how you're cooking.
yeah, the process. Yeah.
Wow.
And also the penne alla vodka. But I love it. You know why? Because it's so easy. Because it's a jar of
Yeah.
your capricciosa.
Yeah, all it is a jar of a capricciosa sauce and equal parts of heavy cream, and you have the penne
My
vodka.
stickies on here.
Yeah.
They're like my go-tos. Just so
Oh,
pretty.
yeah.
The pictures are just
Yeah, they are.
gorgeous. in this
Stunning.
book.
Yep.
And just to know that they're family recipes
Mm.
that have been made. Well, John, I know you would like the seafood. And
Oh
the
God, yeah.
steaks.
And the whole thing is you mentioned the Suppa family and you mentioned Silvio, and there's instant recognition
Yes,
with people. There's such a
Yeah.
high esteem
Yep.
for your
Yeah.
family.
Just before you guys got here, one of this guy that was he was selling some wines and things, and he came in and he didn't know who I was. He just was, cold calling, and he's like, "Oh, what's your last name?" I said, "Suppa." And he's like, "Were you related to Silvio?" And he's like, "Yeah." He knew my dad, and he used to hang out with him in Delmonico's and stuff. Yeah,
So you became instant friends,
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And he's got my number, and now we're like gonna,
right?
talk and stuff. So,
Wow.
but that happens all the time. It
Food
just-
brings people
yeah,
together.
for sure.
Yeah,
It really does. Breaking bread. I know your dad would always say that he was sad that was like a missing art, that when you sit down, like you said, and you would talk about
Yeah.
what happened in your day, what went on.
Yeah.
How many people are doing that
Yeah.
now?
I mean, even like, good friends, like the relationship usually gets to another level, like once you have dinner together. Oh, let's go out to dinner. It's like the next level, like you went from friends to really good friends because you went out to dinner.
That's one of my favorite things to do. My wife and I get together with friends and just do that because
Yeah.
the guard is down
hmm
and
Yeah.
you can just be yourselves
Yeah.
and just the endorphins and the serotonin and the dopamine, all the good feeling
Yeah.
chemicals in your body just,
Yeah.
come to the forefront.
Yes.
Sure.
So we have to dig in.
I know.
That's,
I'm surprised we've lasted this long without digging in. Yeah, this is fabulous.
So while Tony is serving us on this great dish,
Oh my goodness, this is great.
this is the
And,
best.
and we're being served by Tony, the head honcho here at Woodman's in
God.
Brantford.
Yeah, so Tony, if we didn't say it, you own Woodwind's wedding and special events in Brantford, Connecticut. Plus, you own Silvio's sauce, which we'll put the links in for that. It's Silvio's plural, saucesplural.com.
And do yourself a favor and order some of this. If you're not here in the local area where we're broadcasting from now, it's going to be worth it. They do ship.
Mm-hmm.
Said they were just shipped out to Vegas. And let's get you on that mailing list.
Tony, I've got to ask you, though, how do you get the pasta so perfect? I know, I asked your father once, too. But I don't remember what he said. Like, if you're cooking pasta for a bunch of people, if it sits too long in the water, it's going to get mushy.
Yeah.
So how do you know when to take it off? Where
I mean, it's a lot of it's just tasting it, but the actual pasta that you use is very important. So you have to use a high quality pasta. You can't use, that's one thing you can't skimp on is like the quality of the pasta because it'll ruin the entire dish. And then, obviously, there's a certain amount of time you put it in for. Every pasta is different depending on how hard they are. But you have to, towards the end, you have to taste test and you got to take it out immediately. The water, once it's ready, you can't leave it in there too long.
God, it's like the art of pasta.
Yeah.
Joyce, you could do the rest of the show. I'm busy.
Well, excuse me, we're going to be finishing up now anyway.
Yeah.
And go online, silviossauces.com or thewoodwinds.com. And
it was such an honor to talk a little bit of shop here, Tony, to be able to do a big party for your dad when you had asked me to DJ his anniversary party years ago. Yeah. That was such an honor.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. I wouldn't have asked anybody else.
Oh no, just
you're part of the family. So
I've always felt the same thing about you too.
For sure.
It's just good to see good people do so well.
Exactly.
And your family has a great reputation, and it's always an honor to work alongside you as well.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. And Joyce also, we're like family. We've known each other forever. So.
Yep. Joyce and I are like family too. We go way back to the WPLR days.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Way back in the 80s. The 1880s.
So what days are you on the radio now?
I work over at iHeartRadio, so I work on a bunch of different radio stations. But whenever they need me to fill in, I do that. I don't have any real set schedule outside of the weekend, Saturday and Sunday afternoons.
Yeah.
And but it's fun. It's still fun.
For sure.
The business has changed a little bit, but you have to change with the times.
Yeah. You got me into country music, actually.
Oh, I did?
Yeah, I never really listened to it before. My wife and kids love it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we listen to it. 92.5 is on the radio in the car every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, iHeart's going to really appreciate this plug.
I know, right?
Because this podcast is available on all streaming platforms, including the iHeart Podcast Network. And get it on YouTube, Amazon, Spotify, Pandora, all that down there.
Keep talking amongst yourself, and
Joyce is busy right now.
That's right. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tony.
Tony, we appreciate you so much, and we appreciate this. This has just been this is the first time we've done a podcast. This is episode number whatever it is, and nobody ever fed us.
Yep.
Right.
So we're expecting this each and every week.
I know, right?
Tony's going to lock the door.
Thank you, Tony. We appreciate you. And thank you so much for tuning in to What's Good with John and Joyce. Every week, it's good news, positive. We keep away from the negativity. No politics.
Exactly.
It's just been a lot of fun hanging out with Tony. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, guys.
Bye for now.